Today I'm installing the binding on guitar number 57. I start by bending the bindings in my bending machine, and there are actually two different sets of binding that need to be bent using different forms in the bending mold. Because this is a Florentine cutaway guitar, there's the regular bent pieces that follow the normal curves of the guitar, and then I also have to bend two smaller pieces to fit into that cutaway section. It's a very specific bend there and a very steep bend. So you want to make sure you do everything right as far as the moisture and the thickness of the pieces and the heat that is applied. So I'm going to start with the bindings for the cutaway bend, because I basically want to start with my most difficult miters first and get those taken care of, and then build everything else sort of off of that. And I'm starting by doing a dry fit. There's no glue in here. And this is just so that I can squeeze out my binding or press it out into its ending location, just so that I can very accurately mark where I need to cut things like the miter cuts. Then I remove the tape and make the cuts. And once the fit is good, I glue that piece in before progressing onto the rest of the guitar. And next, the cutaway bend on the soundboard side. And the next binding sections that I do are the longer sections that meet at the cutaway tip. So once again, I'm dry fitting this piece so that I can press it all the way out and determine exactly where I need to make this miter cut. There's a little bit of eyeballing that's necessary here because the binding strip can't be fully pressed against that miter. Now, once I've very carefully fit that miter and I'm very satisfied with it, I will start gluing in the piece, starting from that miter and working my way outwards, and only running out just a little bit of glue at a time. As I get close to the end of this section for the butt joint at the end seam, I simply nip off the extra binding material so that it's close to that center line of the butt joint, and then fit it with either a file or a sanding block until it lines up just perfectly on center and square with that back center line. Now the final two sections, I dry fit as before, only those will be easier because I only have to manage a butt joint, which is an easier joint than a miter, at the one end, and at the other end, since it will be covered by the fretboard tongue, I actually don't have to get that joint to fit up perfectly anyway, so I'm just going to leave a little gap up there, and that's okay. Now the final miter on the back side. So remember, on the front side, this area of the joint is covered by the fretboard tongue. However, on the back, you can actually see it. So we want that joint to look like a nice gap-free miter. So I'm prepping it with a chisel first before I then dry fit the piece, and then prep the other end so that it fits, it butts up just perfectly. And now as I get close here to the end of the last strip, just like before, I simply have to file down that last little piece, continuously checking until it fits perfectly right against the other piece, making for a nice, clean-looking butt joint. And I'm doing all this while the glue is still hot here, so I have to move quickly. But it is a fairly easy joint to execute on the fly like this. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here we have it. So I've already removed all the tape, obviously, and leveled all the binding so that we can see what this looks like. And it came out really good. So you can see there. The curly maple adds a nice border to everything, to the tiger myrtle and to the redwood. Very simple. Of course, there's no purfling here. I could have added purfling, but I just thought it wasn't really necessary. Now, remember in a previous video, I showed you that I got some tear out coming around this corner. And if you look back at that video, you can see that that tear out was much larger before. So this is kind of why I waited, or why I'm still waiting, to repair this until basically the last possible minute. Because I think this, through the process of leveling everything and, you know, what I did before with putting the binding on and all of that, that the tear out is going to be severely diminished in the end, and I will have to do little to nothing by the end of this build to make those disappear. I'll probably have to do something though, but it's way smaller than it was. So why don't we go ahead and rub some mineral spirits on here just to show you what it looks like. This isn't sanded smooth yet, it's just sanded level. Oh yeah. Look at that figure. That's cool. Alright, let's check out the rest of this. The end wedge. So the mineral spirits here really mimics what the finish, at least a natural finish, is supposed to look like. So you get sort of a sneak preview of your work. And of course the mineral spirits just evaporates off. Alright, very cool. Love the look of the tiger myrtle on the back here. That looks sharp. Very cool. And here I'll show you some of these miters so you can see how those came out. And back here it's not a miter but a butt joint. If you learned something here, please give this video a like and subscribe so you can be notified when I release a new DIY guitar making video every Friday. And if you want to really learn more, take one of my structured online courses at ericschaferguitars.com or register for a hands-on guitar building workshop here with me in Burnville, Pennsylvania.